In this video, we're going to explore the second basic principle for leading small groups. Now, making disciples happens in and through relationships. And so for a small group to be truly impactful, it has to have the right kind of relational environment. A healthy relational environment, not just for hanging out with your friends, but for actually making disciples. And so the second essential principle in small group leadership is to keep connecting. And what I want you to see is that healthy relationships are basic to any successful group. There's a reason why we don't call our small groups Bible studies, because just sharing truth by itself is not enough. Ephesians chapter 4 explains why. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church. See, it says we grow more and more like Christ. We grow more mature in our faith when truth is combined with love. And so it's your job as a small group leader to create a good relational environment. Now, we believe that the key to growing as a Christian is to discover the truth and then share it with others and then apply it in your life. That's just another reason why our small group leaders should not be lecturers, but facilitators of discovery of the truth. But we want people to be able to share the truth because we believe that you haven't really learned or grasped the truth until you can share it with someone else. We want to share it within the group context, and then we'll encourage people to go home and share it with someone else as well. But we want to create an environment where people can share the truth, that kind of relational environment. What does that look like? We saw in Principle 1 that it's an environment where people genuinely care about and love each other. Well, the other element of that is that it's an environment of trust, where people can trust the group to share what they're learning, to share the truth, but also to share their lives and the application of the truth to their own needs. There's two elements of that kind of trust relationship. The first one is confidentiality. Your people in your group have to know that whatever they share in the group is not going to be repeated by anybody else outside that group. And the second aspect of trust is a non-judgmental attitude. People are going to begin to share if it's an environment where they feel safe, like they're not going to be shut down because of what they said, or they're not going to be made to feel stupid. That's the kind of environment that's going to encourage people to share the truth. That's the kind of caring environment that we have to do to make disciples. Now, the second part of keeping connected has to do with inviting. We want to train you to launch your group with personal invites and then to never stop inviting. See, we want people to think and care about not just the ones who are in the room with them, but about the people who aren't there yet. See, we believe that one of the marks of maturity is that people are going to help others pursue God. And so if we want to really help our people to become mature, we want to coach them and train them to think not just about their own desires and needs and comforts, but to think about others outside of themselves, the other people who aren't there yet. And that means becoming invitational as a group. And that starts with the leader, how you set the tone of your attitude and how intentional you are about inviting. Now, where we learn about inviting in the Bible is in John chapter 1. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of these men who heard what John the Baptist said and then followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother Simon and told him, "We've found the Messiah," which means Christ. Then Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. You see, Andrew was invitational. He met Jesus and he was all excited about it, but he wasn't just content to enjoy that relationship for himself. He went to someone that he cared about and invited him, in this case his brother Peter, to come and meet Jesus as well. And so we want to encourage you in your group to recognize strategic times to invite. Now, the first strategic time to invite is when you're first launching your group. Don't expect that people will come to your group just because they saw it listed in the bulletin or on your website or it got announced in church. You need to get out and meet people and with your co-leaders, invite the people in your lives. Go out and work the lobby and meet people and invite them to become part of your group. And we have a great tool to help you get your group started. It's called the Group Launch Plan, and it helps you evaluate who you can invite to become part of your group when you first start. But then there's other great times to invite people to your group. One great time is whenever you're starting up again after you've taken a break, like after a summer break or a holiday break, and you're ready to get going again. That's an awesome time to go out and really be strategic about inviting people to come to your group. And another time is whenever you're starting a new series. That's a great time. Hey, we're starting a series. Why don't you join us this week? You'll be right there at the beginning of the series along with all the rest of us. And so recognize great times to invite, but then you also have to train your group to think invitationally. Take time in your group on a regular basis to talk together as a group about the people that you'd like to invite. And think about potential invitees, people within the church who aren't connected into a group, or other people that your group members just may know that might benefit from coming to a group. If you have that conversation on a regular basis, it begins to train your people to think invitationally. And then another thing you can do as a group is to talk about and make plans for invitational events. Have a picnic or a potluck the week before you're ready to start up again after the holidays, and use that as a time to just invite people to come and enjoy being with you relationally. You won't have an agenda, you don't have a lesson, and it makes it easy for people to come without feeling like they have to make a long-term commitment. They can get to know you a little bit first, and then when they do come to the group, it's a little bit more comfortable. But if you have those conversations together as a group, what it does is it helps your group begin to think about the people who aren't there yet, begin to think and act strategically about being invitational. And then there's a third element when we talk about keep connecting. There's a third aspect to that as well. And that is to follow up outside the group. Follow-up is where real discipleship takes place. And what we mean by that is when you meet with group members outside of the group time. Sometimes you might have a phone call to follow up or meet someone for coffee. There's a need that arises in the life of the group, someone's life, and you become aware of it. And so you make an appointment with them. Maybe it's a point of their need and they're feeling a need or have a question that they need to have resolved. Or maybe you've noticed something and you want to take the initiative to deal with that and help someone understand that. That's where you come alongside and help them grow in their faith. Now you could maybe find an article or a topic at PursueGOD.org and send them the link ahead and then talk about that when you meet together with them. But this is where real discipleship takes place. We call it mentoring, where you come alongside someone and you help them discover and process and apply the truth in their life. And we recommend that to learn how to do that you take mentor training at PursueGOD.org. But it doesn't have to be just you as the small group leader who does all that. You can include other people in follow-up as well. This goes along with what we discovered in Principle 1 about developing co-leaders. And one way that you can share ministry is by helping prepare other people to do some of this follow-up within the life of the group. So maybe there's somebody in your group who has a question and someone else in your group has already been through that issue in their life. Well, you can put them together and one can share their experience with the other. And the way to prepare your group for this is you can take key people through that mentor training that I just mentioned that we found at PursueGOD.org. Certainly you want to take your co-leaders through it so they can help share this ministry with you. But as you begin to discover people in the group are ready to take a next step in helping other people pursue God and they're beginning to develop maturity themselves, take them through the mentor training so that they can begin to help you in that ministry. They can begin to develop their own maturity as they help other people pursue God. But when you're sharing with other people and you're creating that group environment and you're doing follow-up and all these different things that you're doing as the shepherd of that group, remember that you need to understand your part versus God's part. After all, who is Apollos? Who is Paul? We are only God's servants through whom you believed the good news. Each of us did the work the Lord gave us. I planted the seed in your hearts and Apollos watered it, but it was God who made it grow. So Paul and Apollos had different gifts, different strengths, and they had different roles to play, but ultimately it was God who caused the growth. And so we have to understand the difference between our part and God's part. Your part is to pray for your group, pray for the people in the group, to lead them well, to be an example of the things that matter most, to care for them, to help them develop their gifts and their leadership. And God's part is to motivate people. Only the Holy Spirit can really motivate someone to pursue God. God's part is to work internally and to bring change from within. We can't do that. So as you're faithful to do your part, then you can trust that God will do His part as well. So our second principle of leading small groups is about creating a great relational environment where you're caring about people, you're helping them care about each other, you're inviting others, and you're teaching people to become invitational, and you're doing follow-up with people outside of group time and training others to do follow-up as well. All of that works together. Principle number 2, keep connecting.